Shalom. All praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Kodesh. Double honors unto the apostles and elders of GMS, who are the true leaders of Israel today. And salutations to all of the Akim who do this work in truth and sincerity, who risking their lives and their freedoms to do so, as well as the scattered Israelites who come looking like the heathen but are not, by way of their forefathers' seeds who are Israelite men. The true name of the Most High is Yahweh, and his son's name is Yahushai. And the Lord's holy chosen people are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, as we're the ones who suffer under the curses in the book of Deuteronomy. My name is Akalia, and this video is about the prophecies of Yahweh Shemishai and the time of trouble that is coming. Alright, so here it is from naturalnews.com. Supply chain collapse looms as US-China trade war reaches extinction level crisis. Store shelves will empty like never before. Alright, so we all know about the current tariff situation that President Donald Trump has put in place, right, towards China. And the news has been reporting it, everywhere has been reporting it, that the shelves are going to be looking empty, that the supply chain, you know, as the article says, it's collapse looms. Okay, so here are the tags: dollar collapse, economic crisis, economic depression, empty shelves, food shortages, global reset, inflation, layoffs, manufacturing collapse, port shutdowns, retail apocalypse, supply chain collapse, survival prep, tariffs, trucking industry, Trump tariffs, unemployment, right? All of these things are on the horizon, man. Okay, because the world is heading towards a time of chaos. And it's heading towards a time of chaos because Yahweh Shemishai has judgment that is set for the world and for the wicked unbelieving of our people, you know, the Israelites. So a part of the judgments that are coming is the famine. So let's just get in 2 Ezra chapter 15 and verse 5. It says, "Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction." So these plagues are the judgments that are set from Yahweh Shemishai that are coming to this world. And we're going to be going through these terrible times, and it is out of these terrible times that we shall be delivered, right? And those of us of the hopeful elect, we hope to be of the elect and to be delivered out of the calamities and destruction and everything. So let's read about the situation. The American way of life is about to be violently upended as the US-China trade war reaches a catastrophic tipping point, one that supply chain experts warn will trigger shortages worse than the pandemic. And y'all remember what happened during the pandemic. The shutdown of many small businesses, inflation, which we're still dealing with to this very day, and it's just going to get worse. Many people lost their jobs. And if you just remember the entire situation, man, it was a situation that overall was not good, right? It was a chaotic situation of sorts. And so they're saying that this one will trigger shortages worse than the pandemic. And we experienced those shortages during the 2020 worldwide situation, right? The grocery stores weren't as full as they were before. And actually, even to this day out here in Jamaica, they seem to not have recovered from that situation because that worldwide situation appeared to have done permanent damage to the supply chain. So the supply chain has already been permanently damaged, and now with this trade war situation, it's just going to take more hits. So it says, massive unemployment and economic chaos unseen in modern history, with President Trump refusing to back down on tariffs, including a new 25% levy on foreign auto parts and Chinese imports projected to collapse by 80%. The stage is set for what a logistics CEO Ryan Peterson calls an extinction level asteroid wiping out of the dinosaurs kind of event. Now that's very dramatic speech that is used, but you know, the situation at hand is this: The prophecies of Yahweh Shemishai shall come to pass, as it says in the book of Second Esdras, that they shall not be slack, right? And in Isaiah 55 and verse 11, it says, and I'll get it. So shall my word be that goeth forth out of my mouth. It shall not return unto me void, but it shall accomplish that which I please, and it shall prosper in the thing whereto I sent it. So this is the prophecies of Yahweh Shemishai, and a part of the prophecies is the famine. So, when it's talking about supply chain issues and empty shelves and stuff like that, it's talking about in general for all kinds of products, okay? But the food is going to be affected as well, of course, because China, for example, does supply certain food products to the United States, so expect shortages on those specific food products. So it says key points. Supply chain expert warns of asteroid wiping out the dinosaurs disruption as US-China trade war escalates. Chinese imports to US expected to plunge 80%, triggering historic shortages, price spikes, and mass layoffs, right? And, in these days that we're in, the news often is reporting unprecedented times or historic times and stuff like that, because it really tells you about the times that we're in, because we're nearing the end of the rulership of the Edomites. And so since we're nearing the end of the rulership of the Edomites, all of these prophecies are going to come to pass, the judgments of Yahweh Shemishai. So America is set to break down, all right, and deteriorate, leading to its eventual destruction, which is going to be by way of the ICBM missiles. America is going to be destroyed by thermonuclear fire. America is Babylon the Great, written in the scriptures, Revelation chapter 17. So it says, Trump's 25% auto parts tariffs deepen crisis as experts warn. Even if a deal happens, recovery could take a year. Southern California's port-dependent economy faces devastation, with 1 in 5 jobs at risk, right? So unemployment is on the horizon. Mass job losses. The US and much of the industrialized world are now entrenched in a historic trade war, a conflict intensified by President Donald Trump's policies, but ultimately inevitable due to the past US administrations losing key negotiations with other nations. And remember this, the same kind of thing happened before the Great Depression, right? And World War II. Okay, it's all the same thing that's playing out. There was a situation on tariffs that happened that then led to the Great Depression. Same playbook once again. It says, these early failures set the stage for economic decline as businesses shuttered and corporations relocated overseas in search for more favorable conditions. Now, in a desperate bid for survival, the US government is waging high-stakes trade battles, deploying aggressive tariffs to pressure other nations into compliance. This strategy underscores the dollar's weakening dominance and the decline of American manufacturing, as countries increasingly abandon reliance on the world's reserve currency to forge their own economic alliances, all right? So, the coming supply chain apocalypse. The warning signs are already flashing red. Container shipments from China to the US have plummeted 60% since April, with major retailers now burning through stockpiled inventory. Once those reserves vanish, likely within weeks, Americans will face barren shelves, rationing, and hyperinflation on everyday goods. Smaller businesses already struggling are the canaries in the coal mine. The crisis is exacerbated by the decades of US economic malpractice where corrupt administrations outsourced critical manufacturing to China, leaving the nation defenseless. Now, as Trump's tariffs sever trade ties, there's no quick fix. It takes years to build new factories, notes one analyst. How do we replace $438 billion in Chinese imports? The answer, we can't. Yeah, this place is through, man. America's through, Esau's kingdom is through, and I'm glad to see it, because this kingdom has to collapse, right? And the collapse of this kingdom, the sign of it, means that our kingdom is coming. It's a transitionary period that we're going through right now. Okay, so the coming supply chain apocalypse, and it says likely Americans will face barren shelves, rationing, and hyperinflation on everyday goods. Now let's see what the scriptures have to say about that. All right, because everything happens in stages. So it's going to be first, right now we're hearing about the warnings, and we're already experiencing inflation and empty shelves in certain types of ways. And then let's not forget the bird flu and the whole egg shortage and all of that, which we're experiencing it out here in Jamaica. And it's from America it started. So when America's hit and America's affected, the rest of the world feels the effects as well, right? America is also the world reserve currency. So when that starts to get hit, everybody starts to suffer. All right, but this thing is going to happen in stages. So now we're seeing the warning and all these kinds of things. Then it's going to be where there's going to be a rationing, right? As it mentioned, barren shells and rationing. So here it is in Ezekiel 4 and verse 16. Moreover, he said unto me, Son of man, behold, I will break the staff of bread in Jerusalem, referring to the Israelites, us, and they shall eat bread by weight and with care, and they shall drink water by measure and with astonishment. So this is one of the stages where that, the bread will have to be eaten by weight and with care. So food is going to have to be rationed out. All right, because when more shortages come in, there's going to be, when you go to the grocery store, they're going to be putting a limit on the amount of food that you can buy. It's already happening with the eggs. And we remember during the pandemic when that situation for certain items was happening. So then it's not only there from the grocery store, because then households will have to be like, okay, well, we can only get this much food, so we're going to have to eat this amount today, this amount tomorrow, right? So it's the food and water. Okay, everything's going to have to be measured and rationed out. Okay, and it mentions as well barren shelves, rationing, and hyperinflation on everyday goods. Well, the hyperinflation will just mean the price of the goods is going to increase, which means that your purchasing power, it's going to go down because nobody's getting no raises to match these inflation, the inflation that's happening. So just being able to buy food is going to be a struggle as well. And then eventually it's just going to reach the point where it's just going to be empty shelves. 2 Ezra chapter 6 and verse 22 says, And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. And the trumpet shall give a sound, which when every man heareth, they shall be suddenly afraid. So the sown places shall appear unsown, and the full storehouses shall be suddenly found empty, right? Empty shelves, okay? And the trumpet shall give a sound, which means the announcement is going to be given. There will be an announcement when there's a food rationing and all that, and then there will be an announcement when the famine is here, because it's all leading to the famine. And at that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein. The springs of the fountain shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run. So because of the famine, people are going to be fighting each other, man, because people are going to lose everything. People are going to lose their jobs, their homes, their cars. They're going to lose everything, man. And so when people feel like they've lost everything and they have nothing, then they lose a sense of themselves and they just go crazy. They go buck wild out in the streets. Okay, so this is all going to be coming, man, and that's sure to come. The famine is sure to come. All right, it's a part of the process of Yahweh Shemishai. So then the next thing it talks about is economic carnage and the betrayal of American workers. Southern California's ports, the lifeline of U.S. commerce, are ground zero for the coming disaster. Gary Herrera of the International Longshore and Warehouse Union warns that 1 in every 5 jobs in the region is tied to port activity, with ripple effects crushing warehouse workers, truckers, and rail operators. The Inland Empire, a hub for Walmart and Amazon, faces economic ruin. Even if Trump secures a deal tomorrow, supply chains won't recover for 9 to 12 months, says Altana Technologies CEO Evan Smith, but China refuses to negotiate under coercion, and Trump's latest tariffs, like the auto parts levy, signal no retreat. The tariffs themselves are a shock to the system, Smith adds, and the shock is echoed and amplified across the entire chain. All right, so people are going to be losing their jobs, man. Okay, and that's for sure. All right, that's a part of the suffering that's coming. Let me see. Okay, so what does this mean? Because Jacob's trouble is coming, right? Jacob's trouble, Jeremiah chapter 30 and verse 7. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. So it will be those of the elect that will be saved out of Jacob's trouble. And the elect consists of the nation of Israel, as salvation is only for the Israelites. Salvation is only for us. Okay, so this time is coming, man, and everything is building up day by day, as you can see. Okay, day by day. And so, knowing or hearing about the prophecies of Yahweh Shemishai and knowing about the terrible times that are coming, it should put fear upon you, right? And the scriptures say in Ecclesiastes chapter 12 and verse 1, right? Because your hope should be that you have fear of Yahweh Shemishai upon you, and that you should be seeking mercy from the Lord. Because these times that are coming, like, you're not going to be fed unless the Lord is protecting you in those days. All right? Remember now thy Creator in the days of thy youth, who is Yahweh Shemishai, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. All right? So seek ye the Lord while he may be found. Call ye upon him while he is near, as the scriptures say. While the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain, in the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble. And who are the keepers of the house? The economists. And they've been sounding the alarm. Just a few weeks ago, the American economy took a hit, right? I believe it was something like a 10% loss from the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones in 2 days, Thursday, Friday. Okay, but it's going to get to the point where there's going to be actual economic collapse, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grandeur cease, because they are few, and those that look out of the windows be darkened. Right? So the grandeur cease because they're few, because of the unemployment that is coming, man, the massive job losses that are on their way. Right? People are going to be losing their work. And then it says, and those that look out of the windows be darkened. So they're going to look out of the windows, and it's going to be darkened because they're not going to have any hope, right? Because unless you have hope and faith in Yahweh Shemishai, when it is that Jacob's trouble is upon us, and the famine and the pestilence and the mass death and everything and the chaos of it all, right? If you don't have faith in the Lord, you're going to be looking at the situation and you're going to be like, oh wow, like what are you going to do to get out of it? You know what I'm saying? But the answer to that is to hope that Yahweh Shemishai protects you in that day. But for those who don't have any faith in the Lord, they just won't have any hope. And so people are going to be going crazy. People are going to be, doing all sorts of things, right? Mass level depression and all these kinds of things. And then, because they don't have no faith in Yahweh Shemishai, right? Our people, right, that don't believe, when it is that Esau provides them, because the windows are going to look darkened, but then when Esau provides them with a solution to escape the situation that they're in, it's going to be that microchip, which is a mark of the beast. And then that is what people will look for as their hope to escape the troubles. But that's not going to be for good for you, right? Because there's a judgment for taking the microchip, which is the mark of the beast, which is destruction. So it will appear to be a temporary moment of relief, right? As the scriptures say, when they shall say peace and safety, then shall sudden destruction come upon them, right? And that's what's going to happen, because then, just for a little bit, because you'd have forsaken Yahweh Shemishai and take the microchip, is going to be a situation where it's like, okay, now finally, in the mindset will be, now finally, oh, they get to eat, they get to be in the safe zones that are allotted for those who have the microchip and all these things. But then boom, Yahushua is just around the corner, and the destruction is on its way. So this is what it is. And it says, and the door shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low. Right, the sound of the grinding is low, man. That unemployment is coming, the job loss, and he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. So the entertainment is going to be done away with as well. Of course, that's going to be one of the first things. When things start to get really hot out in these streets, out in the world, the entertainment is the first thing that's going to go. All right, so yeah, man, repent. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. Okay, and this crisis is coming, man, and it's something that cannot be stopped. All right, because the prophecies of Yahweh Shemishai are sure to come. So with that, all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Shemishai B'Shem Kakwedesh. Shalom.